Photoshop's new Select and Mask feature makes it easier than ever to create complex cutouts. And with a few simple skills, we can start to blend images in creative ways like this. So let's take a look at how it works. Now, Select and Mask replaces the old Refine Edge command, which was a great tool for improving the edge of an existing selection. And one of the big differences with Select and Mask is that we don't actually have to begin by making a selection. We can just head straight into the command. And we can do that if we click on any selection tool. Notice we get the Select and Mask button at the top here, so you can use any of these different selection tools in the toolbar over here, or you could just go to Select and Mask. Now, one new feature that comes in very handy is the onion skin view, which you'll find in the view drop down over here, and you can hit F to cycle through all of these different views. Now, with the onion skin view, we get to set a transparency, so we can choose to leave the whole image transparent or bring it down to somewhere around about 40%. And then we can start painting a selection using the quick selection tool, which you'll find over to the left over here. And this behaves in exactly the same way as the quick selection tool in the main Photoshop interface. So we can start painting over our subject here and notice how we're able to quickly select her, because the quick selection tool does a good job of snapping onto the edges of the shape. So this is quite a useful way to make a selection, because we can see quite clearly what's included or excluded as we go. And it's much more effective than using, say, perhaps the marching ants view to try and gather in different pixels into your selection. And of course, if the tool goes wrong at all and selects an area that we don't want, we can hold Alt and Paint to subtract that area from our selection. Now, when it comes to selecting these ropes here, the quick selection tool will occasionally struggle. And in fact, it's done a pretty good job along that small section there. But as we try and paint upwards, you can see the tool might occasionally grab areas of the background there. But there's another tool we can use here within Select and Mask to help prevent this. We can actually paint freehand with the brush tool to add areas into our selection. So we can just paint along this straight line here, and as with all brush tools, we can hold Shift and click between 2 points to draw a straight line. So I can just click once here, hold Shift and click at the top there to draw a straight line between those 2 points. And because we can go on and refine the edge in a second, we don't need to be too precise with our painting here. We just need to make sure that we include the majority of the rope in our selection, and we can do the same over here. So again, we can use the left and right square bracket keys here to resize the brush tip to make it the same size as the rope. Click once, hold Shift and click again to draw a straight edged selection like that. So now we've got a decent starting point for our selection, and we've managed to include as much of the subject as we can and exclude as much of the background. But of course, at the moment, there are areas that are looking a bit dodgy, like around the hair here. Now this is where the Refine Edge brush tool comes in. We can grab that and then we can paint over parts of the image like this to try and improve the edge and pick up more of the details that we want, while excluding the background details that we don't want. And this works in much the same way as the old Refine Radius brush, but with one big difference. We can see it change the edge in real time as we paint, so we get a better idea of how the tool is behaving as we go, and that's really useful when it comes to making complex cutouts like this. And if you want to see exactly where the radius is increased, you can go up here and check Show Edge, and this shows you where I've painted along the edge to increase the area of refinement. Now we can also up the radius, which increases the area of refinement along the entire edge like this. So you can see as I increase this by perhaps 1 or 2 pixels, you can see how we now get an edge area like this that shows us the areas in which the command is going to seek out similar pixels or exclude pixels to get a better selection edge. We can also check Smart Radius like that, and this makes the command automatically adjust the size of the radius depending on how much it thinks the edge needs at that particular point in the image. we can just have a quick squiz around, and I think there's an area here that we've excluded. So we can go back to our quick selection tool here, and let's uncheck the show edge option, and we can just paint to add that area in. So we've got complete control over what's included or excluded even after we've begun to refine the edge. I think we could also perhaps exclude this little section here. Now below the radius settings over here, there are a few options that will be familiar to anybody who's used the old refine edge command. We have these different options for adjusting the edge. Smooth will smooth out any jagged edges. It's not particularly useful for an image like this, but it might be useful if you're trying to smooth out a selection of text or something like that. Feather will just soften the entire edge as if you were kind of blurring it. The contrast option here helps to sharpen up softer edges, and with shift edge we can shift the edge inwards or outwards. Below this we have a couple of useful options here to decontaminate the colours, which helps when you get a little bit of fringing around the edge. And you can also output to different options here. If we just go to layer mask, then we know our selection will be output to a layer mask in which everything but the selected area will be hidden. And I'm happy with that, so I'll hit OK to apply. And I think now at this point we'll blend our two images together. So I can grab the move tool, click and drag it up to the background sky image here, and then drop it in like this. And if we bring up our layers panel here by going to window, layers, you can see we have our top layer with the layer mask attached to it and the sky below. Now if we want to improve the mask, and I can see there are a few areas that need a bit of tweaking. We're losing a bit of the foot here, and also I think the back of the hair here is still looking a little bit dodgy, so I think we could improve that. We can actually go back into select and mask. If we right click the thumbnail here, we can choose select and mask again to go back into the command. And now this time if we adjust the transparency, you can see we can actually see how our image will look against that blue sky. So we can tweak it as we go while checking how it's going to appear against the background that we actually want to put it against. So let's perhaps try refining the radius along the edge here to see if we can come up with a better result around the hairs around this side. There's also a little area here that I think we need to improve, and I think that's looking a little bit better. Let's go down to that foot there, and then again grab the quick selection tool and just try painting to bring back that little part of the toe there that we're missing. Oh, and there's a portion of our rope missing here as well, so I'm just going to lower the transparency a little so I can see it a little bit better, and then I'll paint with the quick selection tool to bring that area back, and then I can hold Alt and paint to get rid of that little mistake there, and just continue tweaking until I'm happy. But I think that's a pretty good selection there, so I'm going to hit OK to apply. And from here on, if we like, we could fine tune the mask manually by painting with white or black, and however good select and mask is, and it is a really good feature, you're usually going to have to tidy up things a little afterwards. But I think we'll leave it there for now with this particular image. So there we go, that's a quick introduction to the select and mask feature and how you can use it to create really complex cutouts.